What do beer, banking, and Facebook all have in common? They made Brazilians filthy rich. We're talking private jets, art collections, and bank accounts with more zeros than a math exam. Today, we're counting down the top 10 wealthiest billionaires from Brazil, from the guy you've probably never heard of, all the way to a man who turned a Harvard dorm room into tens of billions of dollars. Stay until the end, because number 1 might genuinely surprise you. Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is João Moreira Salles, a 63-year-old whose wealth comes from a very powerful combination: banking and minerals. If the last name sounds familiar, that's because it should. João is part of one of Brazil's most influential dynasties, the Moreira Salles family, who we'll be seeing again very soon on this list. And trust me, they get richer each time. João is also a highly respected filmmaker and intellectual figure in Brazil, known for founding video films and directing acclaimed documentaries. He's the rare billionaire who's just as comfortable at a film festival as he is in a boardroom. With $4.5 billion to his name, João is proof that old money in Brazil runs very, very deep. Coming in at number 9 is Alexandre Behring, 58 years old, with a net worth of $5.7 billion built almost entirely through investments. Behring is a managing partner at 3G Capital, the legendary private equity firm co-founded by Jorge Paulo Lemann, a name you'll definitely be hearing later on this list. 3G Capital is the firm behind some of the biggest corporate takeovers in recent memory, including deals involving Burger King, Kraft Heinz, and AB InBev. Behring has served as chairman of Restaurant Brands International, the parent company of Burger King and Tim Hortons. So the next time you order a Whopper, just know a Brazilian billionaire has a stake in that transaction. At number 8, we have Max van Hogarden Herman Tels, with a net worth of $5.8 billion. His age isn't publicly listed, which is honestly a very power move. But what we do know is that his fortune is rooted in beer, specifically the same beer empire that dominates this list. Tels is another key figure connected to 3G Capital and the AB InBev universe, the company that essentially controls the global beer market. From Budweiser to Stella Artois to Corona, AB InBev owns it all, and Tels has had his hands in that golden keg for years. At $5.8 billion, he's the wealthiest beer billionaire on this list, until we get further up the countdown, that is. The Moreira Salles family is back, and this time with Pedro, 65 years old, worth $6.1 billion. Like his brother João at number 10, Pedro's wealth is built on banking and minerals. He serves as co-chairman of Itaú Unibanco, which is not just Brazil's biggest private bank. It's one of the largest banks in the entire world by market cap. Pedro also has interests in Vale, the Brazilian mining giant that extracts iron ore and other minerals critical to global supply chains. He's a man who quite literally has a stake in the ground beneath Brazil's feet. Banking and mining. That's what you call a diversified portfolio. Tied in net worth with Pedro at $6.1 billion, but ranked 6th is Miguel Krigsner, 75 years old, the man who built a cosmetics empire from scratch. Krigsner is the founder of O Boticario, one of Latin America's largest beauty and cosmetics companies, with thousands of stores across Brazil and beyond. What makes his story remarkable is that he started O Boticario as a small pharmacy in Curitiba back in 1977. Nearly 5 decades later, it's a beauty juggernaut selling perfumes, skincare, and makeup to millions of customers. In an industry dominated by European and American giants, Krigsner built something uniquely Brazilian and worth billions. A true self-made billionaire. Yes, another Moreira Salles. Fernando Roberto, 78 years old, sits at number 5 with $6.5 billion, and once again, the sources are banking and minerals. At this point, it's fair to say the Moreira Salles family might be the most quietly powerful dynasty in Brazilian finance. Between João at $4.5 billion, Pedro at $6.1 billion, and Fernando at $6.5 billion, the three brothers together control well over $17 billion in combined wealth, mostly through their stakes in Itaú Unibanco and mining interests. If you ever needed proof that family wealth compounds across generations, the Moreira Salles clan is Exhibit A. At number 4, we have Andre Esteves, 56 years old, worth $6.9 billion, and his world is finance. Esteves is the founder and CEO of BTG Pactual, Brazil's largest investment bank and one of the most powerful financial institutions in Latin America. His story is one of the most dramatic on this entire list. Esteves built BTG Pactual into a powerhouse, was briefly arrested in 2015 amid Brazil's massive Lava Jato corruption scandal, lost his position, and then made one of the greatest comebacks in South American business history, retaking the helm and rebuilding his empire. Today, BTG Pactual is thriving, and Esteves stands at nearly $7 billion. Resilience doesn't even begin to cover it. The top three begins with Carlos Alberto Sicupira, 77 years old, and his family fortune of $7.6 billion. And yes, beer is once again the source. Sicupira is another co-founder of 3G Capital and a key architect of the AB InBev empire. He's also known for his involvement in Americanas, one of Brazil's largest retail chains, which has had its own turbulent headlines in recent years. Sicupira is known as a fierce devotee of the Dream Big management philosophy, famously co-authoring a book about principles of ambitious leadership. He may be in his late 70s, but in the world of Brazilian billionaires, he's anything but retired. Now we're talking serious money. Jorge Paulo Lemann, 85 years old, sits at number 2 with a staggering $17 billion in net worth. Lemann is widely regarded as Brazil's greatest deal-maker, the architect behind the global beer empire that became AB InBev, the world's largest beer company by volume. A former Brazilian tennis champion and Harvard graduate, Lemann co-founded 3G Capital alongside Sicupira and Tells, and together they engineered some of the most audacious corporate mergers in modern history. He is a man who has spent his entire life playing the long game, in tennis, in business, in life. At 85, his family's fortune stands at $17 billion. Not bad for someone who started with a bank and a dream. And at number 1, by a massive margin, is Eduardo Saverin, 43 years old, with a net worth of $34.5 billion. You know the name, even if you don't realize it. Saverin was the co-founder of Facebook. Yes, that Facebook, now Meta. Born in Sao Paulo, Saverin met Mark Zuckerberg at Harvard and provided the early funding that helped get Facebook off the ground. After a highly publicized falling out with Zuckerberg, later dramatized in The Social Network, Saverin renounced his U.S. citizenship in 2011, moved to Singapore, and has been investing and living quietly ever since. His net worth of $34.5 billion is more than double that of number 2 on this list. He's not just Brazil's richest person, he's in a completely different financial universe from everyone else on this countdown. From a dorm room in Cambridge to $34.5 billion, Eduardo Saverin is, without question, Brazil's greatest wealth story. And there you have it, the top 10 Brazilian billionaires, from João Moreira Salles at $4.5 billion all the way to Eduardo Saverin sitting comfortably atop a $34.5 billion fortune. What's wild is how concentrated this wealth is. Beer, banking, and one very famous social network built most of it. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more billionaire breakdowns, and let us know in the comments which billionaire story surprised you the most. Personally, we think Esteves' comeback might be the most underrated story on the whole list. See you in the next one.